I know that if I was on an island, I would not be able to survive. One, I don't like camping in general. I'm a glamper, I'm not a camper. I can't camp. I don't like bugs, I can't do bugs. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another review video. So today we're gonna be reviewing the movie Send Help. Pause if you haven't seen this movie yet and you would like to. There will be spoilers, so go watch the movie, then come back here and review with me. And as always, opinions are just that. Opinions, everybody has one, and this one is mine. So if you don't agree with me or you agree with me completely, leave it down in the comments and let's discuss. But let's keep it clean. And without further ado, let's get right into the review. So I just want to start off by saying that I loved this movie. I think this movie was done very, very well. When I first watched the trailer, I thought this was just gonna be another, like Lost. Like, it's gonna be like a Lost, or it's gonna be like a Castaway, blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that. My expectations were blown away with this movie. I thought it was done really, really well. And I also really loved both actors' portrayal in this. I meant to say like that they portrayed, and it sounded like I said betrayal and portrayed. Anyway, love the two actors, Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, and their role in this movie, because I feel like they don't really play a lot of these kinds of roles. I feel like horror really isn't their forte. They're in a lot of like thrillers. I would say Maze Runner's kind of like a thriller. It has thrilling moments, but Rachel McAdams really hasn't done too much in the horror thriller industry. So it was really cool to see actors who normally don't play those kinds of characters in these types of movies. So I really liked that. I know that doesn't really have to do with the movie, but I will have to say I did have appreciation for that. But having said that, I also really love the characters that they played, the power dynamic that they had together. Bradley thinking that he's in control, Linda knowing that she is, especially on the island, but also kind of in the office, especially with Donovan, their coworker. I felt like Linda was always somewhat in control, but because she didn't have the power that Bradley or Donovan had, she was always like stuck here until she was on the island. So I really liked the power dynamic between the two in both the office and then also when they were trapped on the island. There's a couple things that I just don't think that I'm a huge fan of, and this is nothing against Sam Raimi's style, but I just think that I'm just maybe not used to it. I haven't really watched a lot of his movies. I completely forgot that he had directed Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, which I did watch and I actually really liked. I know a lot of people didn't really like that movie, but I honestly loved it. I thought it was really fun and just quirky. I don't know, I thought it was fun. Also, they had like the horror elements in it, which I really enjoy, so I liked it. He's also done, I think, Spider-Man 2, but there's a lot of other movies that he's done that I haven't seen. So it's not that I don't have appreciation for his movies, I just haven't really seen a lot of his style, except for in The Multiverse of Madness is the one that I can really remember. So having said that, there's a couple of things that I think are just not my favorite that he does, but that doesn't mean that I'm counting it against being like a bad movie or anything like that. I just don't think it's my style. So to name a couple, is the zombie behind Linda. I felt like it was so unnecessary. It was just a cheap jump scare, and if that's kind of what he was going for, then that's fine, but I felt like there was a lot of realism in this movie, and I felt like it just was unnecessary. It was just an unnecessary jump scare. He could have done something completely different. A cheap jump scare, but it wasn't like a nightmare. Like Linda was having a hallucination of Bradley's fiance, and then all of a sudden this zombie like pops up. So I wasn't a huge fan, but I also understand that apparently that is Sam Raimi's style, so yeah, just not my favorite. Another thing that wasn't my favorite, and Sam pointed out to me that this is kind of still like his style. He's very like zoomed in faces, which there were some parts that I actually really loved of the zoom in, but there was one part in particular that I wasn't a huge fan of, and it was the tuna smelling scene. I still don't understand why it needed to be in the movie, but basically Linda had tuna salad on her lip and then it got on Bradley's hand. His assistant or his coworker came in and Bradley put his hand to the side and had him smell his finger. And I don't understand that. No one would ever do that. And if they would, like, that's insane to me. So I just felt like that was kind of an unnecessary scene. I don't think that it really needed to be in the movie because it really had no significance. The only thing that I can think of is, you know, maybe it kind of just shows the power that Bradley thinks that he has over everyone. Like, here, smell my finger, and the guy did it. I don't know if that's kind of what the significance of that scene was supposed to be, but I just felt like it was kind of unnecessary, and he could have done it in a different way that it wasn't smelling a hand. I just thought that was kind of silly, kind of goofy, and there were some like silly, goofy scenes that maybe Sam Raimi was going for, but another thing that it was just not my favorite scene was the plane scene. Again, if you're gonna go with realism, I would say stick with the realism. And I felt like the movie had a lot of realism. I know a lot of people can probably argue most of the scenes, like, it's just a movie, like, it's just a movie. But if you're going for realism, then you kind of need to stick with the realism, in my opinion. So the plane scene with Donovan kind of going out of the plane and his tie being stuck, and then he's just kind of flapping on the plane. My fiance loved it, but I just felt like it was kind of overkill. Like, it just didn't really need to happen. I know that this movie is supposed to be like a little goofy anyway, but I don't know. I just don't really like the horror and then trying to be like somewhat goofy in the horror movies. It's just not my favorite, and it happened with Weapons as well. And I don't know. I like more semi-serious horror movies. I don't know. That's just my take. That's my thing. One of the things that I really appreciated in this movie was seeing a small glimpse of Linda's life. I felt like we really needed to see that for the movie to kind of make sense. And it's just like little things like that that I really appreciate. And not just the scene of her like sitting down and watching Survivor, that was perfect, but also her just pouring a glass of wine, because later in the movie you see that she's making wine. So it's just little things like that that just get me really happy of, like, Sam Raimi decided to put that in there. He didn't have to, you know, you can just assume everybody likes wine, but it's just that he put it in there because he wanted to set it up that, oh, Linda drinks wine. Oh, she found a way to ferment fruit to make wine. So I don't know. It's just little things like that that I really appreciated. Same thing with obviously her watching Survivor. She loves Survivor, which makes sense later when they're on the plane and they show that she was trying to be on the show Survivor. And then also her Survivor skills on the island. So I really loved like that little glimpse that we got of Linda's life. So with the power dynamic, what I also really liked was that Bradley couldn't spell help. I thought that was so funny because the symbolism behind it was that Bradley always needed Linda's help. Even in the office, we see it with Donovan, that Donovan can't do things on his own. He needs Linda's work to actually like succeed and like go up in the company. So it was just kind of, I just thought that was really funny that he's always needed Linda's help and that he can't do things on his own, like spell the word help. But also I thought it was funny because he like was berating her in the beginning when he was passed out and she was trying to get things ready and like foraging and using her skills, building like a place for them to sleep, fishing, hunting, and all of that stuff to make them survive. And he was like, oh, you didn't even like put a sign out that said help. So I just thought it was funny that when he did it, he spelled it wrong. I just thought it was funny. The one thing I was a little surprised about was seeing the boat that Bradley brought out of the bushes. I kind of like had to go back and think, when the hell did he have time to do that? But it makes sense because I feel like, especially when they were sleeping in the cave, Linda was kind of sleeping for a while and Bradley was up and working and like kind of walking around, that's exactly the time that he could have done it. So it's just the little things like that that I really appreciate, that like he had time to do that. He could have done it when they were sleeping. So, and although it wasn't a good boat, but again, it makes sense because he didn't have much time, I was just a little surprised to see the boat. Yeah. And also, especially because Linda really wouldn't let him leave like their little part of the island. Whenever he wanted to go on a walk, she wanted to go on a walk with him because she didn't want him to find the house that she found and she was kind of living off of. I hate to say it, but I started to feel a little bad for Bradley. Now, hear me out. I always knew that somebody was not going to leave the island, and I always figured it was probably going to be Bradley just based off of like the skills that Linda had. And even in the trailer, like just seeing the skills that Linda had, I was like, if anyone's going to survive the island, it's going to be Linda. It's not going to be Bradley. Like, it's just not. And the reason why I always thought it was going to be Linda too was just because Bradley was just such a jerk. And I was like, well, if anyone deserves to live, it's Linda. So yeah, like watching the trailer, I definitely was team Linda all the way. But then watching the movie, I swayed a teensy tiny bit. And I feel like the reason why is because we see Linda kind of lose grip of reality, like her not wanting to leave the island and go back to her life because that's not where she was in control. In her life, off of the island, Bradley was always in control, and he was always threatening her on the island anyway, saying, you're not gonna have a job when you come back. So I can understand her like losing grip of reality and being like, nope, I'm gonna stay here because I actually am appreciated here and I do a good job here. So I can understand like her not really wanting to leave because she doesn't have the power back in her real life. So it's kind of hard, but also I felt bad for Bradley because they totally could have been saved. And I don't know. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm team Linda. I thought it was really funny and ironic that Linda left the island on a boat. And I think it was just so funny to me because she kept telling Bradley, you can't do a boat, like it's not gonna work, you can't do that. And then she left the island on a boat. I thought that was really funny. I also thought it was really interesting that she didn't try to flag anybody down, but I guess she just kind of wanted to be the survivor in like this little story that she was writing. So maybe that's one of the reasons why she just wanted to show off her skills, which that makes sense. I can understand that. I get that. But also it just proves that Linda just did not want to leave the island because obviously a boat could have worked. She just really was really hardcore of not wanting to leave the island. I love the end of Linda playing golf because Bradley really liked golf and so did Donovan. So I just thought that was kind of funny too. Also the shot of her hitting Bradley and then it going to the shot of her playing golf, that was really good too. But yeah, I really loved this movie. I thought it was done really well. The cinematography, just the actors. I felt like a movie can be good with the story alone, but I feel like when you have really good actors that really play the role well, that can really help significantly in a movie. And I felt like both Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams, they just did such a good job with their roles. And also the characters themselves. I loved the characters so much. They just did such a great job. They really did this movie justice. But anyway, that's all I have. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Should I do, instead of like doing the hands, should I do this instead? Would that be fun? I feel like because of the glare. Oh, maybe not. It does say Universal Studios on it though. Could I get copyrighted for that? I don't know if I can. I'm not gonna do it this way. I just freaked my dog out. Ooh.